I read my Bible for 361 days last year, and even though it's not a perfect score, I'm pretty dang proud of it. I've been a Christian for pretty much my whole entire life, and it's been a struggle to actually like open up my Bible and read it. Even though I know I should, even though I teach children's church and I tell my kids they should, I just have had a hard time. Sometimes I will read it, every day for a while, and then I'll fall off the wagon. Sometimes I'll read it every couple of days. Sometimes I'll look down and be like, oh my gosh, I haven't read my Bible in months. It just depends on what's going on and everything. But last year, 2024, I just really got in a good rhythm of actually getting it figured out. So I wanted to share the things that help me to do this consistently in case that's something that you wanted to do consistently and you're struggling, because I feel you, no shame, it's okay. I understand. So let's talk about those kind of things. And if you're watching this because you normally watch my videos, but you're not really into the Bible, that's okay. Honestly, this is a lot more about like habits and stuff like that. So you can apply this to something different if that's not really your thing. And if this is your first time here and you clicked on it because you were like, I don't know what to do, hopefully you find this video helpful, and I would love to be friends. So hit the subscribe button down below. Here on this channel, we talk all about how to like live your best life even when you're super, super busy, because I have a full-time job and side hustles with an S, and I teach children's church and I do all of the things, and I'm just really trying to thrive despite all of that. So here on this channel, we're talking all things planning, journaling, notebooking, books, side hustle, behind the scenes, all that kind of stuff. And I would love for you to come join our journey. So hit the subscribe button down below. And without further ado, let's get into it. Now, before we get into it, there's a couple of things that I want to mention. So the first thing I want to mention, I kind of already said, but that is this, honestly, even though it is going to be about reading my Bible, it isn't necessarily like only applicable to the Bible. Most of this is something you can apply to anything that you want to do more. So if you want to drink more water, or you want to read more books, or you want to journal more, like these kind of steps can be applied to any of those things. I am really big on implementing habits and like getting my habits down. So that's kind of the approach that I'm coming at for this video. The second thing I want to say is there's no right or wrong way to read your Bible. This is actually something I talked about with my mom last year because we were kind of talking about this, and she mentioned that she listens to her Bible on like the free Bible app, and my mom has a Bible degree and has worked in churches like her whole life, and so if she's, if that's something that you can do, like that's fine. And she was like, you can read one verse and you can meditate on it for hours, or you can read, 3 or 4 chapters, and like there's not a right or wrong way. So I know a lot of people are like, oh, read the Bible in 1 year. You don't have to read the Bible in 1 year. It's okay. I didn't read the whole Bible last year. I read a lot of it, but I didn't read the whole thing last year, and it was okay. And I still got so much out of it. So don't be caught up on like how to do it. Just do it, and just do it your way, and it'll be fine. Okay. Let's get into the super practical tips, because I am all about the practical, tactical things you can actually do to make this happen. Okay, number 1 is the absolute most important, and that is schedule in when you're actually going to read your Bible. If you're like, I want to read my Bible more, but you don't have a plan for it, it's not going to happen. People always say, if it's not scheduled, if it's not on the calendar, it didn't happen. It's not on the calendar, it doesn't happen. I don't know. But basically, you have to have an actual plan for when you're going to do this. Now, this year, or last year technically, I found the most success when I did something called habit stacking. So habit stacking is when you take a habit you're already doing and you add a habit you want to do to that habit. So now you're stacking your habits. You can habit stack with pretty much anything. I've heard people say they like do push-ups every time they go to the bathroom, or they, stretch out their legs while they're brushing their teeth, or different things like that. But just look at like what you're already doing and then see if you can add this into something that flows naturally. So one thing that I always do is in the morning, I will make my breakfast. I come sit here on this couch actually, and I do like my planning for the day. So when I went to read my Bible more, that's where I put it. I made my breakfast, I would have my coffee, I would come sit down, and then before I did my planning, you could also do it after, but before I did my planning, I would open up my Bible and actually read it. And so this is something I'm already doing. I'm already coming to this spot. I'm already planning. So I'm already doing like, quiet kind of meditative kind of things. So adding in the Bible was something that was pretty easy to stick in there, especially if I followed some of the other tips that we'll talk about in a little bit. So if you can have it stacked, that's great. If not, and you have to start something over, that's fine. But schedule it in and make it part of your daily routine to make it easy. The days that I didn't read my Bible last year were because I didn't follow my routine that I do like every single day of my life. And so that's why I didn't end up doing that, because they were crazy. And to be fair, like one day was the day my dog died. One day was the day my mother-in-law died, because we had a really, really rough year last year. And another day was, her funeral. So I feel like I get to pass those. And then one day was just because I totally like woke up late and lost track of time, and it just didn't happen. But having that routine really made sure that I did it, because like I'm gonna eat breakfast. And I'm probably gonna plan. So adding that into that little section, it just made it really easy. And I like to do it in the morning before I kind of get going on all the other things and forget about everything. So number one is make sure that you schedule it. And if you can have it stacked, that is great. Number two is when you sit down to actually read your Bible, have a plan. So first off, you can do whatever plan you want. I went really simple. I was just like, all right, I'm gonna read 3 chapters a day. Where did I get that number from? No idea. I just kind of pulled it out of a hat. And so I just decided, I was like, all right, we're going to go with 3. 3 sounds like a good amount, but it's not too much. And so I would just sit down. I would just, open to the next book. But you might need a more specific plan than that. If especially you're new to reading your Bible, one suggestion that I have is there's a Bible app. It's free. It's this guy right here. And they have plans in the app that you can use. So actually I'm using this year because my church is using it. So we're like all doing it together. But there's a lot of different plans. You just go to you go to plans. And then you click find plans up here. And then there's all these different plans that you can go through. And there's like keywords you can look for, and so there's just a lot of different ways you can come at it. So if you're really new or you're really struggling, that might be a good tool for you to just have a plan. For me, I was just like, I'm just gonna read the next 3 chapters. It's fine. I did skip around a little bit because I don't like reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John all back to back to back. So I did skip around a little bit, but for the most part, just read the next 3 chapters was plan enough for me. But do have a plan. And when you have your plan, also have a backup plan, because sometimes things don't work out. Actually, I found it really helpful to have that app on my phone, because there have been a few days this calendar year, 2025, where I got halfway through the day and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't read my Bible yet. And so it was really easy for me to pull that out and read it. Or if I was having just a day where I didn't have a lot of time, instead of reading 3 chapters, I would just read 1. And so having those accommodations and backup plans are really helpful, because not every day is going to go super smoothly. And if you have those days where the day got away from you, having a backup plan is going to help you a lot, so that you can still make sure that you're doing the things you want to do. Number 3 is one of the reasons this has worked the absolute best, and that is keep it close. So if you're new around here, I have this lovely thing here. This is what I call my morning basket, not because I only use it in the morning, but because it has all the stuff that I like to use in the morning. I have a whole video about this basket that got a weird amount of views. I don't know why, because I was just like, hey, here's all my journals, but a lot of people liked it. So I will link that down below and we can go more in depth. But basically in here, I keep all the things that I need, typically in the morning, but just in general. So one thing is my Bible, which I had sitting over here because I was filming this video. I also keep things like my bullet journal, which I use every day. I have pens, I have notebooks, I have all the things that I use on a daily basis here, and it usually stays here. But the benefit of it being a basket is I can take it with me. So if I want to go sit on the couch today in the living room, not this couch, the living room couch, then I can do that. and it's no big deal, and I just take it with me. But keeping it close by physically serves as a physical reminder, because when I go in this basket, I'm like, oh, hey, here's this giant book that's got reflective pages and is staring at me. And so like it's really easy to remember that way because it's right there. Or if you keep it like next to your bed or something like that, it's really easy to remember because it's close by. Like keep it front and center so you don't forget about it. If you go hide it in a closet, you're gonna forget about it. But put it out in the open and it's easy to remember. Number 4 actually kind of goes along with that, and that is make it easy. So making it portable by having it in a basket or having it on an app on your phone. If you can make it easy for yourself and not difficult, it's not like, oh, I have to go in this room that I never go in and like do all these elaborate things. The easier and simpler it is, the better. So keep it somewhere you already go, in the place where you're most likely to use it, and then you're going to actually be able to read it more normally. The next one is probably one of the most important things that I did this year that helped me a lot, and that is actually engage with it. So it's one thing to open it up and listen. It's totally different to actually engage with it, and it's going to help you get more out of it, and it's also going to be a lot more fun. Maybe it's because I'm a teacher, and so I'm always looking for ways to make things more engaging for my students, but I went with that with mine as well. So a couple of different things. First of all, always recommend you pray first, because then you're just like starting out with the good mindset and also asking for things, and asking you shall receive. So there we are. And just pray that you learn something, get something out of it, and sometimes even the parts you think you might not get something out of are really useful. So pray first. Now, some different ways that you can engage with the content. So one of my favorite ones is to journal about this. This is actually a journal that I got from my husband because he got it and he didn't like it, and so now it's mine. I didn't pay for it, although, we are married, so I guess technically I did pay for it, but whatever. But in this journal, I just literally write my thoughts. So every day I'll write down what I read that day. So like, here's a good example. Write down what I read that day. And then I'll write down any verses that like stood out to me. So I was reading through Acts 2, and I read this verse, which actually is a quotation from David, but I'm not sure where it came from originally. So the quotation in Acts is, I saw the Lord always beside me, because he is at my right hand, I will not be shaken. Therefore my heart is glad and my tongue rejoices. My body will rest in hope. And it was that last part that really got me, because what I wrote underneath that and what I kind of got out of that was, you have to have God to have the rest, because you have to put your hope and your faith in God in order for you to not be like stressing about tomorrow and stressing about all those things, because you have to be able to like believe that God's got that in order for you to have rest and be able to chill out. Because if you're not giving it to God, then like it's just staying with you. So that was something that just stood out to me. So I just wrote it down, and then I, wrote a couple of different thoughts about it, and that was it. It's not anything long or elaborate. I'm not writing sermons. I'm not even writing lessons. Like I teach elementary school. I'm not writing lessons. I'm not writing sermons. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just like, hey, I like this verse. Here's what it made me think of. And so just a really simple way is just a little bit of journaling about what you read. Another thing that I personally love to do that got me some flack in that video I told you about, but it's fine, whatever, is Bible journaling. So I know that sounds like the same thing, but Bible journaling is really like drawing in your Bible, which I personally love to do. So I actually got this Bible in particular because it's a study Bible, so it has like the things on the side. Mine has lines, but you can do other ones. But what I like about that is that I can draw fun little pictures if I feel like it. So, here we have like a little sheep. Look how cute. Because this, I'm the good shepherd. So I was like, here's a sheep. And the bread of life. And it's a good time. And I don't always do it. Some of these are just like little notes. But sometimes I just like to have a good time and like make something that stands out to me. Another thing I'll do is I'll do like lettering. So if there's like a verse that stands out to me and I just have an idea, I'll just make it pretty on the side. Because then when I flip to it, I'm like, oh, he's not the God of the dead, but of the living. For to him, all are alive. And so like things like that where it's not super elaborate, it's not really crazy, I'm not doing anything like insane, but just a couple little doodles because it's fun and it makes it fun. And I shared that in my I shared that in that video about my morning journal, and somebody was like, this sounds like arts and crafts and not like Bible time. And I was like, yeah, that's what's great about it. Like, I'm having so much fun because I'm doing something I love, which is, you know, art and journaling and lettering and that kind of stuff, but applying it to something that I'm trying to get something out of it. And so it helps me to engage with the content of what's going on. And it's just a good time. And you know what? God gives you these gifts for a reason. So if you like to paint what you see. Like, it's fine. You can do whatever you want. So I have a really good time with that. I have a whole bunch of supplies here on this cart right here that I use for this. I also use it just for drawing, for coloring, for all those kind of things outside of my morning time. But that is something that I do like to do just because it's fun. It's a good time. And so I really get a lot out of that. And that's been one of my favorite things this year. Is just like engaging with content, like looking for verses to letter and looking for pictures that I can draw. And like, it's just fun. It's just fun. And you know what? If it's fun, you're going to want to do it. Okay. So have some fun. Another thing you can do is you can do music. If you are, you know, someone who plays an instrument, go play your instrument, you know, read your Bible and then go and sing a worship song or go play on piano or different things like that. Or you can write music or different things like that, like, or add music, just play music in the background. And those things will help as well, just to make it more fun and more engaging. And if you can make it more fun, you're going to want to do it. It's not going to feel like a big, huge chore to be like, ugh, I got to read my Bible. But instead, it's just like something you enjoy more and you just have more positive connotations with it. Trust me. You don't have to do that if you're not into like drawing. Don't draw. But if you are, draw in your Bible. It's not supposed to be like pretty and perfect. One of my students the other day, he was like flipping to the page we were on and he ripped his Bible and he was like, oh no. And I was like, it's okay. I know that stinks and we can like tape it back together. I was like, but the point of your Bible is that you use it. So it shouldn't be in pristine, beautiful condition. I hate seeing a Bible in pristine, beautiful condition because it's not being used like it's supposed to be used. So use it. Okay? Okay. Use it. Mark it up. Highlight it. Do whatever you want. It's yours. And you know, if you ruin it, you can buy a new one. Okay? Number 6 is one that helps a lot of people, and that is adding accountability. So this can look like a couple of different things. For me, accountability is just simply filling it out on my habit tracker. In my bullet journal, I have a page where I have a whole bunch of habits that I track, so I see how many steps I'm getting and how much water I'm drinking and which days I worked out and which days I journal and read. And so I put reading my Bible on there, and so I just, you know, check off every day that I read my Bible, and it takes not even 12 seconds. I just open the thing up and I take out my marker and I go bloop, 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 bloop for all the habits that I did that day. And then I am holding myself accountable because I can look and I can see, oh no, I skipped that day, or oh, look, I've read this many days in a row. And so I can see those things, and that's what helps me. And that's how I knew that I had read my Bible 361 days last year. So it was leap year, so if you were wondering about my math, that's why. So just having that was enough accountability for me to just like, yes, I checked it off. I know what I'm doing. For other people, that may not be enough. And so other things that you can do on that app, like I said, you can do the plans with other people. So like our whole church is reading through the New Testament together, and you can see when somebody read. And you better believe I'm going to be checking that box every day. Okay. So like if someone can see that I'm doing it, especially like my pastor, I'm gonna make sure I'm doing it. So that's something you can do. My mom actually is in she calls it a texting Bible study with some of her friends, and they all just have like a plan for what they read, and then they just literally text each other what they got out of that day's reading. And so that's one way to hold yourself accountable, is just get a group of friends and all read it together. So it doesn't have to be like a huge thing, but find your way to hold yourself accountable. Make sure you're doing it and make sure that you aren't slacking off. Because usually I find that things like this, it's not necessarily like, you know, I'm not going to read my Bible today, but it's that you forget or life gets busy. And so if you can do something where you're checking it off and things like that, that helps. Also, if you're someone, they used to say this all the time when I was like in youth group, they'd be like, spending time with God should not be something you just check off on a box. Listen, your girl is motivated by checking boxes. And so I would always feel bad because I'm like, oh, well, I shouldn't be like checking this off my list. You know, it shouldn't just be something I check off my list. But listen, it should be something I check off my list because I need to make sure that I'm doing it. And also, like, it just helps keep me accountable to have it on a list, to have it on a habit tracker, and to check it off. It's not that I'm getting less out of it. And don't approach reading your Bible as like, oh, I gotta read my Bible because I gotta check my box. But do check your boxes and don't feel bad about it. Okay? Okay. Because when you do it because you feel like it, it's just a hot mess central. Because you're not always going to feel like it. Listen, this is more discipline than it is anything else. Okay? Okay. All right, I have 2 more tips, and then I wanted to just show you some of my favorite supplies because I think it's fun, so hopefully you think it's fun as well. Number 7 is it's okay to adjust. So like I said, some days I will read 3 chapters. Some days I get to 3 and I'm like, I'm feeling pretty good. Let's keep going. And some days I'm like, ooh, I don't have any time. I woke up late and I need to read just 1, and that's okay too. So I feel free to adjust as you're going, and also feel free to adjust like longer term. If you are on a reading plan and it's not working for you, adjust it. If the reading is tripping you up, listen to it. You can listen to it for free on that Bible app. Like it's not a big thing. So just make sure that you're adjusting as you go and not just trying to stick with something because it's what you said you were going to do, but actually make it something that works for you. And number 8 is to take it slow. This doesn't have to be something where like all of a sudden tomorrow you're reading tons and tons and tons of stuff. Just, you know, if you read 1 chapter, great. Read a chapter. And then read another chapter, you know? And after a while, you'll get more used to it and you'll kind of build up that stamina and it'll be easier and you'll get more used to it. And then it'll be like second nature, no big deal. But take it slow. It doesn't have to be, you have the whole rest of your life. So just take it bit by bit. Now, one thing I actually didn't put on here, but it is true, is one thing that can help is to have supplies that you are excited about. So one of the big things that actually helped me, and I know this is dumb and it didn't need to help, but it did, is getting a new Bible. So I got a new Bible for for Christmas 2023. I sent it to my mom. I was like, hey, I want this Bible. And so she got it for me for Christmas. And just having like a pretty Bible that I like, that I picked out myself because I pretty much my whole life have been like using Bibles that I was just given, and you know, it was like, here's a free Bible, and so that's what I would use, which is fine. But I found just really enjoyed like being able to pick mine out and be like, this is pretty. It's on Amazon, so I'll link it down below. And I personally just got a lot out of having something that I like, and I picked myself. And I got the little tabs also from Amazon. Also, mom ordered them for me because I sent her the link. And so I picked those out and added those, and that helped me as well. And having highlighters that I like and having a little thing on my Bible so I can stick my highlighter on there, like having the supplies that I use really helps the experience for me. It's totally not necessary, but if you are also like me, I just wanted to share a couple of my stuff. So first of all, this is my Bible. It's from Amazon. I'll link down below. It is NIV because that is my preferred version, mostly because I memorized a lot of verses in NIV as a kid, and so now when I read those verses in other non-NIV Bibles, I'm like, that's not right. It's not right, even though, you know, it's technically not right. It's the Zondervan brand, and it's the NIV Journal of the Word Bible. So it's got those things on the side so that you can write. I probably should have gone with like the blank, but I couldn't find an IV with the blank on the side, so here we are. So that's what I like to use. Notebook wise, for like journaling, like long form journaling, I don't really care. I'll just use like whatever's cheap and it doesn't bother me. Highlighters, I like to use the mild liners. These come in lots of different colors. I do like having all of the colors, and so I have like a whole set. However, I'm only using one. What I did is I used one color for the whole 2024 and then one color for the whole 2025. And so that way I can kind of like, as I'm going, I can see like what has stood out to me in the different years. And in the front, I've been adding a key so that I can put that there. Now, as far as like all the fun things that are completely unnecessary, but I'm gonna share anyway. My favorite brush pens are these guys. These are the, what are they called? Pentel Brush Sign Pen Twins. They're dual tips, so there's a brush pen on both sides. So there's like a big one and then there's a little one, and that little one is super, super, super useful. I use the smaller one the majority of the time. I usually use the big one if I'm coloring something in, or if it's like big, so not usually in my Bible. But the small one I use a lot. These come with a whole bunch of different colors, so I have tons and tons of them, and I just keep them right here next in my little cart so that, you know, I have everything within reach. I also use this stuff for my bullet journal and for, you know, drawing and just having a good time. So I don't just use it for this purpose. If I want to add some color, then a couple of things. If you saw like that, he's not the God of the dead, but the God of the living, for like background colors. I love these things. I don't even know what they're supposed to be. They're Faber-Castell gelatos is what they're called. And I think I have the pastel set. I want to get another set just because I really like them. But they're almost like an oil pastel, but they're not oily as much. So you just use them. It looks like a big crayon, but you can like color over things and then you can blend them together really well. So I usually just use like a little blender situation. You can use your finger, but you can blend the colors together and they just make a really good smooth background. And if you let it dry for a second, you can also write on top of it as well. So I like those. They're just a really good time. And that's what I like to use. Now, if I'm coloring something specific, I do like the Prismacolor colored pencils. They are not cheap, but they're really good. They're good for blending. They're soft and they're easy to use. So that is a good suggestion that I would have for those. The markers do, by the way, bleed through sometimes, but it doesn't bother me too much. And then I also like a more affordable option that I just enjoy is the Crayola Twistables. These are just a good time. You know, they're a colored pencil, but they twist, and so you don't have to sharpen them, which I love. They're not as good as the Prismacolors, but I do enjoy them, and I just think they're really easy. They blend okay, but I don't know. I think they're a fun time, so I like those a lot. And those are like the majority of things that I use. If I'm gonna stick something into my Bible, which I don't do a ton, but if I do, or in my bullet journal or whatever, I like this Scotch double-sided tape. I find it to be the easiest thing to use. Glue is just always a disaster, so that's my go-to there. And those are kind of the main supplies that I use in here. Now, again, completely unnecessary, but just in case you were wondering and you wanted to, you know, have a good time like I do, those are a couple things that I like to use. So I will link those down below. You don't have to get them, but just in case you were like, I want to draw all over my Bible, what should I use? One little thing I do want to mention, if you do have bleed through where like you can see the writing on the other page, sometimes I'll just take some like white acrylic paint and just like slap it on the other side. And it is a color difference because the pages are kind of creamy on this one, but it doesn't bother me. So that's one way to kind of get like a clean slate on the other side, and that works as well. So those are a couple of things if you want to get into Bible journaling that you can enjoy and just have a good time with. But the end all be all is just like make it really easy on yourself and make it fun, and then you're gonna want to do it, and so you won't have to worry about it. You can apply this to anything you want to make a habit. If you want to drink more water, or if you want to read books or journal or any of those kind of things, the way if you can like make it a routine, have it stack, get accountable with somebody and make it fun, it's really gonna just make everything so much easier. So highly recommend using these tips if you need anything. And if you haven't already, first of all, you've made all the way to the end of the video, so highly recommend that you do actually open up that Bible. But I just want to encourage you, if you are a Christian, to make sure you are reading your Bible, because first of all, if you're a Christian, you should be reading your Bible, because otherwise you're not going to know what to do, and you're not going to be grounded in the word, and you're not going to know literally anything about the religion that you say you believe in. So first of all, just you should. But secondly, just on like a personal note, I think I want to make a video about this, but I don't know what to call it or like how to come about it. But last year I just like something flipped and I implemented these things, but I was like reading every single day. And it made such a big difference in my day-to-day life. And then as I started reading, then I started like listening to more worship music and journaling and memorizing scriptures and like all these other things as well that came out of that. But the whole like first half of the year, like nothing happened. I just was like, I want to do this. And so I made it happen with all these tips that I just shared. And it was almost like the whole first half of the year was like getting me ready and getting me grounded, giving me that firm foundation. That was like a big word that I kept thinking about, because the last half of the year was rough. It was rough. It was filled with illness and people dying and dogs dying and dogs being sick. And it was just filled with so much hardship. Our family went through a lot. I personally went through a lot. It was just a lot. And if I hadn't gone through that whole like building that foundation before things got rough, it would have been so much worse. Now, it wouldn't have affected the outcome of things. You know, people still would have died. I still would have gotten sick. Like those kind of things would still happen. But even though it was awful, and even though I went through a lot, and even though I was really sad for a really long time and dealing with a lot of things, I still had that hope and I still had that foundation because I had done all the preparations. So now, hopefully your life is going okay. Now is the time to make this happen, because when you get to the point where you need it, it's, you know, the time has already passed essentially. Now, can you pick it up at that time? Yes, that's fine too. But do it now. Do it before you need it. Do it now and make it a habit, and it'll just make everything else a lot better. Promise. Not everything's gonna be great, but it'll be better. So that's my promise to you. If you want to hear about that video, then do let me know in the comments. I'm not sure like how to come at it really, but it's something that I've been kind of toying around with. So I have given you lots of tips and I've talked to you for a really long time. I am really hungry, so I'm gonna go and eat. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet, because I would love to see you here in the next video. And if you have questions or comments, or you want to share what's helped you with reading your Bible, let us know that down below in the comments as well, because I would love to hear what you think and what has helped you, and have you help other people as well. So I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.